Okay, so right now I want you all to flip to the front page of your booklet, which is where all the notes are. Can you find this particular note called making blank the subject? So why do I put blank? I put blank because, right, sometimes it's not just like X the subject. Sometimes it's Y the subject. So right now, I want everybody to take out a highlighter. So can you see for this case, making blank the subject? The blank is Z. So highlight Z, and that means that this means your Z terms have to be on the left-hand side. Okay, that's that one. That is what to interpret. And then another thing you need to know means ultimately at the end of the day, you only can have one Z equal to blah, blah, blah. Only one Z. But of course, at the end of the day, we don't write one Z is equal to blah, blah, blah. Because in algebra, the one is hidden. So we just write Z. Got it, guys? So when they say X and Y, change highlighter color. In terms of X and Y, change highlighter color. And then put a bracket and write that down that here will be your X and Y terms. That is what they meant. Okay, so you need to have two colors. All right, so right now, let's start solving this together. So now you can see in type 1, can you see that this person right here is a fraction, but this person is not a fraction? So how do we write Y as a fraction? Yes, it's Y over 1. Now, take your red pen, means we need to cross multiply. So cross multiply means you must always do your bottoms up. That means that it will become Y bracket 4x squared Y is equal to, wait, I cannot see this. What is this? Let me erase. Oh, 4. Four Z squared plus 9. So right now, what I will want to do is, I will want to open up the bracket. Can you see that here got no plus or minus, guys? Here is just basically Y times 4 times X squared times Y, correct? So by now, you should be good in your algebra already. You need to know that this will give you 4x squared Y squared is equal to 4Z squared plus 9. So guys, if you highlight this in pink, so right now I want you all to take the same highlighter that you highlight Z. So tell me, this term, this is one term here, right? Is there any Z here? No. Now, this is another term. Is there any Z? Yes, let's highlight. Now, what about this 9? Is there any Z? No. So that means that this person needs to be isolated from the rest. You guys got it? So guys, you know what some students do? Look up here, very important. Some students will move this to the left, move this to the right. Now, I don't want to move so many people. So what I want to do is, I know that I need to have 4Z squared on its own, correct now? So that means that this plus 9 don't belong. I'll move it over. That's it. I don't want to move here, move there, so many. Got it? So what I'll do is, I'll just take 4x squared, y squared, minus 9 is equal to 4z squared. But then, remember the fundamental I told you guys, that who must be on the left-hand side? Z must be on the left-hand side. So what you have to do is just roti prata flip. Just flip sides. Change pen color and write it down. Flip sides. So this is another technique that you need to know. So hence, with that, we have 4z squared. Can you see there's no sign involved? It doesn't become positive or negative because we just roti prata flip. Okay? We just flip sides. But then we have another problem. You know what's the problem? The next problem is that have we achieved only one Z? Is it only one Z? No. So, right, to achieve one Z, a lot of students cannot see it. We actually need 2 steps. What's the first step? Ultimately, I only want one z. What should I do first? You need to do two. Yes? Very good. The very first step is to divide by 4 first. Okay? We divide by 4. So take the whole thing, divide by 4. But we still have not achieved z yet. How to achieve z? I want z ultimately, but I have a z squared. So how do I achieve z? Cannot. It's not divide by z. From z squared, how to get z? Not divide by z, huh? What must we do to get from z squared to z? Very good, Yuren. Square root. So write it in red pen, huh? So this one will just be the same. Now, do you all remember what I teach you guys long time ago? Not very long, quite recent, just this month. What do I say that in set 2, whenever you square root something, do you all still remember or not? Very important concept. Wherever you square root something, what must you put? Very good. Plus, minus. Excellent. Even revised. Very good. So take a highlighter and highlight out your square root and plus minus. Super important. This is a very important set 2 concept that you need to know all the way until set 4. So a lot of students, wherever they put square root, they don't put plus and minus. Instead of getting 4 marks, they only get 3 marks. 1 mark is gone just by not putting your plus minus. So super important. Okay, once you're done copying, I'll move on to type 2. Okay, so right now for type 2, is the one below. Now, when you see square root, don't be scared. Okay, so first thing first is same highlighter that you colored just now, I colored in pink. So use that same color highlighter, highlight this, and write that down that this is the x terms on the left-hand side. Change highlighter color because just now I used in blue. So I'm going to take the same thing. That means that here is your y and n terms on the right-hand side. Okay, so right now we're going to start solving. Now, whenever it comes to here, yes, you never put plus minus because the square root already existed. You never introduced a square root. Do you understand so far? Clear? But can you see the very first person, right, to get rid of is actually the square root. So a lot of students thought that they can cross multiply. No, do not do that. The priority goes to who, guys? Priority goes to square root. Take your highlighter, a different color. If you have red highlighter, good. If you don't have, then find something that is prominent and get rid of that. So how, just now, can you remember, we go from, guys, I want you all to write it on a note here. Okay, I want you all to write out a box, a take note of. That means that when we want to go from, let's say just now, x squared is equal to blah, 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 right? When we want to go from x squared to x, what do we do? Sorry, let me write in black, more prominent. Then later, we take a red pen. Okay, so when we want to go from x squared to x, what do we do? Square root. So take your red pen, write down square root. And don't forget, wherever we do a square root, what must we do? Put a plus minus. So use a red pen and write that down. Now, we are moving on to a different one. Okay. So right now will be another concept. Now the other concept, I think you all cannot see. That should be better. Okay, the other concept is we are going from x is equal to square root of blah, blah, blah into I want to get rid of the square root, right? So how do we get rid of the square root? So what must we do? No, not multiply. It's not multiply by both sides.
Square. Yes,
we need to square both sides. So can you put a red pen? I think you all cannot see my red pen. I write in yellow then. Okay, I think you all cannot see. So put a square. Can you see? Square, square in a different color. You use red pen. I write in yellow, but you guys should be writing in red pen. Then put your X inside. And then can you see, guys, look here, very important. When I put this, right, blah, 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 a lot of students don't know this part. It means that whenever I square root something, whenever I square something, not square root something, whenever I square something, can you see a square root with a square? Can you see that? So a square root with a square means at the end of the day, it will just become blah, blah, blah. The square root disappears. So it goes from here, look here, here to here. Understand? The square root disappears. A lot of students go and put square. They put that like that. X square is equal to blah, blah, blah square. Wrong. No, you cannot do that because it already squared the square root. So let's apply the same concept. You know that to get rid of the square root means we need to square. Take your red pen, bracket this. Take your red pen, bracket this. Okay? So you can see, at the end of the day, I have y square, right, guys? Look here, guys. Look. Can you see square root and square? So square root and square means square root totally gone. Square, no more also. Understand? When you have square root and square. So at the end of the day, it just becomes like that. So far, so good. Now, another fundamental is what happens when it's a y square? How do you write it as a fraction?
Y square.
Very good. Y square over 1. Same thing. What do we need to do now? When you have this, cross multiply, cos fraction and a fraction. Okay? So it becomes the same concept. Okay, you all can copy that down. Give you all some time to copy. Then I'll move on to the next part. Please do not forget to copy the one in the yellow box and the one in the pink box. Very, very important. The one in the yellow box and the one in the pink box. Remember to box it out and put a star. Super important. I forget to write the heading, so you can write that down, the heading. This concept is called getting rid of square. The heading is called getting rid of square for the yellow box. The pink box heading is called getting rid of square root. I repeat again. The yellow box, the heading is called getting rid of square. The pink box, the heading is called getting rid of square root. Do not forget to put that down. Super important. These two notes are very important. Okay, so now we take a red pen. Okay, so what do we have to do whenever we see bracket? What do we have to do? So we need to draw your what? Rainbow. Draw rainbow with your red pen. And we'll have, guys, do not write as y squared x. We always write as xy squared plus ny squared is equal to x. Now let's go back to the fundamental. If you highlight this in pink, if you follow me in pink, then please take out your pink highlighter right now. So can you see x? Guys, is this an x term? No?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so highlight in pink also. Now, guys, is this your x term? Is this your x term? So naturally, all the pink will be attracted to each other. That means that I got to move this person over and this person doesn't belong here. This person got to go. So at the end of the day, I'll just have xy squared minus x is equal to ny squared. Bye-bye. Not right. negative ny squared. So can you see how? And do you know, guys, this type of question is usually worth 2 marks or sometimes 3 marks. So can you imagine in the middle of the step, you forget a negative? Maybe you only can get 1 mark or maybe 0. You know how risky that is already? That's why algebra is very, very important. You need to be very careful. There's no like rewards for your carelessness or no sympathy mark because you make carelessness. Understand? So right now, guys, ultimately, do we want so many yada yada? We only want ultimately only x, right? So this is a new concept that you need to learn. So can you see I want x only? So this part means that you need to factorize. Take your red pen right now. Write that down. You need to factorize out x. Now let's continue. So can you see it's a hybrid of like cross multiply, expansion, factorization. Can you see a lot of hybrid of whatever we have learned? That's why this is the very last algebra. Okay? But it's the most fun one. I love this. It's very fun. Okay, so right now we factorize out x. So we write x. Then what do we do now? What do we write when we factorize out x? Open bracket. And what do we write?
Y squared
Mm-hmm.
minus x plus
Y squared minus x? No, it's not y squared minus x.
y squared minus 1.
Now, a lot of students factorize out this x. They don't put any minus 1. They just put x bracket y squared, which is wrong. Because when you take out an x from an x, you're left with 1. It's equal to ny squared. Got it? So now, ultimately, at the end of the day, can you see I only want x? Take your pink highlighter still. Highlight this x. That means that this person right here, you see here, right? Just throw it over lah, to the right-hand side. So it will become, wait, I forget negative. This is negative ny squared. So it just be negative. Now the negative sign, remember I told you all before, you can either put it on top in the numerator or put it at the, no, never at the bottom, either on top or at the middle. For me, I can write it on top for this case. You can just write it on top. Or middle, never write it at the denominator. Never. That's it, done. The end. And that's all for type 2. Now, guys, look here. Can you see here got y squared, here got y squared? Can I just cancel out like that or not? Y squared, woohoo! At the end of the day, is negative n over negative 1. Can I do that?
No, because y squared minus 1 is 1.
Yes, we cannot cancel this y squared from this y because this is attached together by a negative. This is one whole big term together, unless it's y squared times 1. Clear so far? Do not do that. I've seen too many students doing that. That's it. Let's leave it as it is. Okay, can I move on? I'm going to move on. Now we'll go on to type 3. Okay, for now, type 3 looks like type 2. Okay, so right now, if you highlight, if you've been following me highlighting in pink, I want you to take your pink highlighter again. Highlight this person in pink, change highlighter color, highlight this in blue. Done that already? Now, let's start. So it means that I need to focus. Ultimately, who do I want, guys? I want to focus on which term, guys? Z term. Ultimately, I want the Z term. So you must always remember, Z must always be on the left. So guys, can you see here? So many terms, got Y, got Z, got X, got Z, like, oh my God, how am I going to put all the Z term together? So remember just now what we say? Whenever we have a square root, what must we do first?
Square.
But, listen carefully, but just now, the square root, can you see on the right-hand side? Square root was on its own. You compare it with type 2. Look at your type 2. Can you see the square root is on its own? But now, can you see this square root is combined with one other term? Correct or not? So that means that you cannot square first. You cannot square first.
Can you square both at the same time?
You want square left and right, is it?
No.
Square the right hand side now. Is that what you're saying?
Square 2z and then the
Cannot. You know why? Because when you put like that a square term, what does this remind you of already? Bracket this square. What does this remind you of? So let's say that why we cannot just square like that? Can. But I highly will not recommend because of this person here. What does this remind you of? What does this remind you of? So repeat again. What does this remind you of?
number 1 algebraic identity.
Yes, the first algebraic identity. How come? What's the formula of the algebraic identity? Tell me the formula for the first algebraic identity.
A plus B squared.
No, it's just like A plus B. Bracket, yeah.
A plus B close bracket squared.
Is equal to?
A squared plus 2AB plus B squared.
Yes. So who's the A?
2z.
The A is 2z. Means you need to copy paste to put here. And who's the B?
2z.
This whole thing copy paste and put here and here, right? So can you see? If I square the left and the right, can you see that it becomes so complex? Especially on the right side, because I have a humongous square root term. You all get it? So I will not do this way. It's dangerous, it's scary, and you will not be able to get your 3 marks. Means if you do whatever Z did, right, you're going to get 0 out of 3. Understand? Okay, so what is the strategy to do? So listen very carefully. What I do first is I bring this person over first. So it becomes y minus 2z is equal to square root of 4x plus yz squared minus 4yz. Why? Because now I know that I need to get rid of my square root. Change highlighter color. If you have red highlighter color, good. You can use that. Don't have red, find something similar. So now I need to get rid of is my square root. So how do I get rid of my square root? So take your red pen right now. Take your red pen right now. Square this, and then put down your pen and listen very carefully. Don't do anything. Just put down your pen and listen very carefully. Ready? Now, guys, look here. What does this remind you of? What does this remind you of? Yes, algebraic identity again. But is this algebraic identity a lot simpler than the one that we just went through just now?
Yes.
A lot simpler, right? So this one can do. But just now, the one that Z suggested cannot. Very difficult. You understand? Clear so far? So that's why there's a certain way I do math, because it's to make your life simpler. So Z is not wrong also. Z can also do that way. Just that Z will have a headache when doing math lah. But for me, because I moved the 2z over, it's less painful for me to do math. You all get it? So in Set 2, I'll be teaching you a lot of different strategies. So if you're wondering, how come some students, they do math so painful, but you do math not so painful? Because you learn the right technique. Understand? So in Set 2, your algebra is not like Set 1 anymore. You need the right technique. You need someone to teach you the right technique. So you need to listen to the technique very carefully. Understand? If you're lucky, you get a good math teacher, they will teach you in school. If you're not so lucky, then yeah, that's why you're here lah. Okay? So right now, which algebraic identity is this? Number 2. Second, right now, second. So let's recap the second algebraic identity formula. What is the second algebraic identity? Oh no, oh no, go away, go away. Oh, now I have problem. Okay. Okay. So right now, what is the second? I want to write second here. Algebraic identity, I just write as AI. Okay, what's the formula? Tell me. Bracket A minus B. Bracket. Yeah. Yes. Now, what do I gonna do right now? Can you see, remember the technique that I teach you guys? What technique did I teach you guys to do this? Remember I teach you all the technique? You all remember or not? So what do? If I want to expand this person on the left, what will I do? Okay, I will put what first? All my what first? I put all my what first? Can I show you write down y square? Do I do that? What's the technique that I teach you all first? You must always put what first? Start with B. Brackets. Yeah, so we put our brackets. Bracket square minus 2 bracket plus bracket square. Got it? Okay, now guys, do not write anything. Pens down. So all these write in red. Okay. Then later change pen color, write in your usual pen color. Do not write anything. So tell me what to put in the first bracket. What to put in this bracket here? What to put in this bracket here? Do we put negative 2z? No, because the negative is already being accounted over here. And what do we put in this bracket here? 2z. Now guys, look here on the screen. Can you see I square root the square? I square the square root. So what happens? Do I go and put this whole thing square? Yes or no? Instead, what do I write on the right hand side?
4x plus y.
Yes, we just write as like that, that's all. Because why? The square root with the square means this whole thing gone. We don't even put a square at all. Clear so far? Okay, so later then copy, listen here. So now we have y square, right? Y square is very straightforward. It's just y squared. Now we have minus 2 times y times 2z. So remember I told you all, number with number first. 2 with 2 is what? 2 and 2 gives me 4. And what alphabets?
4y.
Okay, plus 2z squared is how much?
4z.
Yes, 4z squared, not 2z squared. Because it's 2 square the both sides. Equal to minus it. So now you can start copying. Once you're ready, take out your pink highlighter. Because I highlight this in pink, take out your pink highlighter. I'm going to start highlighting. Okay, so right now, I highlighted in this in pink. So guys, I need to focus on my z term. Is this a z term, the first one? Yes or no? No. Next one? Yes, but you must highlight the negative 4 also. Is this whole thing. A lot of students always forget the negative sign or the positive sign. Next, what about this person? Yes, also highlight. Next, what about this person? 4x. No, right? Next, positive yz squared. Yes. What about negative 4yz? Yes? Okay. So what does it mean? It means that all the pink will be attracted together. All the non-pink, throw them to the right-hand side. So try to do that and see whether you get the same answer as me. So start moving them now and check whether you get the same answer as me. Once you're ready, take out your red pen. Once you're ready, take out your red pen. So do take note, yeah? This one must be negative. This person must be positive. This person must be negative. This person is positive. This person is positive. And this person is negative. Now, guys, can you see this? Minus 4yz and plus 4yz, right or not? What does it give you? Minus 4yz and plus 4yz. They cancel out each other because they become 0. Got it? Take your red pen and cancel already. Now let's continue. So it means that it's 4z squared minus yz squared is equal to 4x minus y squared. So guys, remember what is our focus? Our focus is at the end of the day, who do we want? We want z. So what must we do now? When we have this thingy here on the left-hand side? Factorize out. Very good. So factorize out your who? Z squared. So bracket, it will give you who? What do we put in the bracket? 4 minus y. Okay, so next, I cannot square root yet because I need to get rid of this 4 minus y. So throw it over. Throw it over means it will become a divide. Why divide? Because it's a z squared times a 4 minus y. Now, can you see? I still do not have a z. So what do we learn just now? How do you go from a z squared to a z? And what do we learn about when you square root? Plus, minus. Must remember that. Must memorize. This one in Set 2, they will keep testing you. Every time you put a square root, you must put a plus, minus. Otherwise, you'll be penalized 1 mark on that. So Karen and Jane, just by putting a square root and a plus minus, you will get your 1 mark. You don't put your square root and a plus minus sign, you will not get your 1 mark. Okay, now we move on to type 4. Is type 4 the last one?
No, it's type 5.
Then after that,
Yeah, that's
can we flip the next page? Flip, flip, flip. All right, so can I clear screen now? Can I? We'll move on to type 4. Now for type 4, it's also the same, just that it's a little bit different because can you see they say 2n over m? So what does this mean? Listen very carefully. 2n, take the pink highlighter again, highlight on top. That means that n terms on the left-hand side. Clear so far? So anything that is, let's say they say the fraction, right? The numerator is always where again?
left-hand side.
Left-hand side. Change pen color. I'm going to use blue. This is the denominator. Denominator is on the right-hand side. So this one requires a few techniques. Later, then I'll teach you the technique. So now just listen very carefully. Guys, after you copy ready, listen very, very carefully. Now, we have m is equal to square root 9n squared over 5. Correct or not, guys? Now, a lot of students, listen here, very important. A lot of students thought it's like that. It's not the same. Because over here, the square root belongs to who?
9n squared.
Only belongs to 9n squared. But over here, the square root belongs to who?
9n squared over 5.
It belongs to 9n squared and belongs to 5. Clear so far? So a lot of students, right, you know what they do? They say, oh, Miss Lin, I just square left-hand side and square right-hand side. Yes, if it's square root everything. But if you're going to do it here, you're going to square here and square here. Also can, but you need to be really, really careful. Got it? Clear so far? So I'm going to teach you 2 ways because Different student prefer different way. You can be student 1, you can be student 2. There's no right or wrong as long as you apply the right technique. So I'm going to teach you student way method number 1. That is, some students say, Miss Lin, I see a square root. I want to square. You can do that. So when you square, you just need to be very careful. Why? Because you'll get m squared is equal to, now, remember I teach you, whenever we have square root and square, everything disappears. We left with what? 9n squared, dn. But you need to be careful because can you see a 5 here? The 5 will also be squared. So the 5 needs to be squared. A lot of students thought it's just 5. Right or wrong? Wrong. Because is there a square root on the 5? No. So the 5 square will become 25. So this is method number 1. Student method number 1. Next, student number 2. Listen here. I do not know which student are you, but just listen, okay? Some students say, Miss Lin, I know what to do because I see fraction. So I want to cross multiply, right now. This student is also not wrong. This student is also correct. So you get 5m squared is equal to square root 9n squared, right? Then now the student tell me that, hey, okay, I saw a square root. I know that I need to square. I need to square, right now. So ultimately,
I cannot just simplify
to
9n.
Sorry, I copied this wrongly. Wait, I realized a mistake. It's not m square here. It's just m. What is it?
I cannot just like square root and then 3n.
Also can. Also can. But then sometimes you cannot square root, then how? For this case, you can square root 9, which is 3, and square root n squared is n. Also can. But what if they give you like square root 11n squared? Then how are you going to square root? Because you haven't learned square root 11 yet. This one you learn in Sec 3, not now. Okay? This one you learn in Sec 3, and this one you learn more in depth in A math. In Sec 3, you do A math, right? You got one whole big chapter on certs. It's called certs. In case if you want to learn more about it, it's called certs. All right? But right now, no need to learn all this. This one is Sec 3 A math. If only your math is good, you'll be rewarded with A math. Okay, in Sec 3. Okay, so now let's continue. Now we get a square, right? Can you see I need to square the 5 and square the m, right? So I get 25m squared is equal to square root. The square I'll just have 9n squared. Got it? So far so good? This one will still give me the same thing. You also give me 25m squared is equal to 9n squared. Why? Because I cross multiply. Got it so far? So you can be student number 1. You can be student number 2. Up to you. Okay? Or you can be student number 3, but student number 3, as what Zed said, you do the square root. I don't highly recommend, because what if your teacher changed to square root 11? Then you need to go back to this fundamental. You understand? So I'd rather teach you the fundamental. Okay, so right now I'm going to continue from here. So what is the whole idea? Can you see they want who on the left hand side? But can you see here, it doesn't fulfill the condition? So what's the technique that I teach you all just now? Huh? Very good. The technique I teach you all just now is roti prata flip. So we roti prata flip, and we will have 9n squared. Can you see I never do any sign? There's no like negative here, negative there. Just flip the whole thing. Got it? Now, does it fulfill? Almost there already. So guys, I don't want you all to do anything. Listen very carefully. First, pens down. Listen very, very, very carefully. So now, can you see I want n at the end of the day? Now, can you see that here? Later, you'll take a highlighter. Constant, constant. Can you see that? So why do I teach you all this technique? N squared and m squared. So I'm going to put like that. N squared over m squared is equal to something over something. Okay? So guys, a lot of students will tell me, Miss Lin, that means that I put my 9 here and I put my 25 here. So remember, whenever we have a fraction, we need to cross multiply. So guys, let's check. When I cross, what do I get?
25.
Is it correct? Wrong. You're clear so far? So I know that I cannot put my 25 here. Instead, I must put my what here? 9. Then after that, later, change your pen color. Can you see I want a 25m square, right? I cross. That means that I must put my 25 here. Clear so far? Now y'all can copy. Make sure you put it in 3 different colors. Huh? You don't have, you can borrow from your friend. Okay. So let's neaten this up because a lot of arrows, very messy. Huh? So I have n square over m square is equal to 25 over 9, right? So can you see that n square and m square technically can be square rooted, right? So when I square root, I'll just get n over m is equal to, what is square root 25 over 9?
5.
Very good, 5 over 3. But I have a problem. You know what's the problem? What do they want? Can you see they want 2n over m? So what is 2n over m? 2m over n is actually 2 over 1. Understand? So it means that to get over here, I need to multiply by 2 over 1. And get over here, I need to multiply by 2 over 1. You all get it? Because this means it's actually 2 over 1 times n over m. So this is the person that I need to introduce. So 5 over 3 times 2 over 1, what do you all get? And we cannot leave it in improper, right? Yes, the answer is 10 over 3, but we must always leave it in. Very good. Mix. So what is mix?
3, 1.
Yes. Ta-da! The end. So how you can see how progressive it gets, right? All right. So the next one, this is the last one already. Here. This is a typical exam question. And this exam question actually came from one of my students' exam paper. So my students say, Miss Lee, you never teach us this before. It's actually not. I cannot teach you guys before, but I'll just go through. So can you see they want T as a subject? Remember just now I highlighted in pink? Take your same pink highlighter that you'll be highlighting and highlight T as subject. So what does that mean?
Left-hand side.
Okay, so this is question A. Yeah? I write down question A. 1 over T is equal to 1 over R plus 1 over S. You know what a lot of students do? Listen carefully. I tell you what a lot of students do. They'll do this. Miss Lin, I remember you say roti prata flip. You know what they do? They flip. T over 1 is equal to R over 1 plus S over 1. They say, oh, T is equal to R plus S. Uh-oh. Wrong. Never. Because why? Can you see that this is how many fractions? 2. If you want to do roti prata flip, you must make sure on your right hand side, you cannot have 2 terms. You need to have how many terms?
1.
How do you make this? Take your red pen and write that down into one single fraction. How? How?
Same denominator.
Very good. Same denominator. So let's go and do it. How do you make it into the same denominator? Can you see here? This denominator is R. This denominator is S, right? Can or cannot? Anything common or not?
1
So what's the same common denominator it should be?
times 1 over R is the denominator times S.
So always work with the denominator first. What's the denominator you need to have at the end of the day? RS. So now, how do you get from R to S? From R, how do you get to S? This is missing of a what?
S.
S. So you need times S, right? And here is only a S. You're missing of a
R.
R. So times R times R. So 1 times S will give me what? S. Plus 1 times R will give me
R.
R. Then now you can apply the technique called flip. Flip here, flip here. So when you flip on the left, you can also flip on the right. But to do this technique, you must always make sure that left-hand side must have 1 fraction and right-hand side must have 1 fraction. You all got it? Clear so far? So right now we can flip 1 over T. This is a new technique. New technique. Become T over 1. Then this whole thing will just become like that. Clear so far? Let's write it nicely. So that means that T is equal to RS over S plus R, dn. So this technique will not be taught in a lot of schools or teachers. Okay, but this is a faster way to do it. Flip left, flip right. But you just need to take note of, please put a star, that to do this technique here, for this technique, write it down in red. Oops, this is so not red. Write it down in your red pen and write it down. For this technique, you must make sure that left-hand side is only one fraction and right-hand side, not is, is has. And right-hand side has only one fraction too. Then you can apply this technique. Otherwise, you cannot apply this technique. So can you see the one that I put in cross? I'm going to highlight in blue. Can you see this blue highlighted one? Do not forget to also write it in your notes. It's not allowed because the right-hand side don't have one fraction. The right-hand side is two fractions. So you cannot roti prata flip like that. Got it? So today we learned flipping many ways. We learned how to do flip left to right, right to left, right? Then today we also learn the fraction, flip the numerator and denominator and flip the numerator and denominator. But this technique only can do that if you have one fraction on the left and one fraction on the right. Okay, now B is very easy. So guys, can you see in Sec 2, right? It's quite, how to say? It's quite sad, okay, and unfortunate is that if let's say your part A you get wrong, you cannot do your part B already. You understand? So that's why students lose a lot of marks. Because sometimes you need part A answer to do part B. So part B is very simple already lah. It's something that we learned before. But then some teachers are very particular with how you present your answer. So right now, can you see that R is equal to 6? So take a highlighter and highlight out. R is equal to 6 and S is equal to 4. You need to write this, guys. Look here. Sub R equal to 6, comma S is equal to 4. Some teacher don't see this, they will minus like half mark or 1 mark in front of your cover page. Got it? Your teacher is very strict presentation, then you need to listen in class, okay? Otherwise, you can easily lose 3 to 5 marks in presentation. 3 to 5 marks is a lot. Okay, imagine you get out of 30. Let's say your math all correct, you get 30 out of 30. Then your teacher say, your presentation not right, minus 5. Then you get this. 30 out of 30 is 100%, you know. But 25 out of 30 is how many percent? It's going to be 80 something. 83. So can you see you lost like what? 17% just on presentation. So you need to be very, very careful, okay? Yeah. So this is what I meant. Some teachers are very, very particular. I don't know why, but that just like that. But it's also good. It means they're teaching you the right way. Different school teachers requires different presentation. Okay, so you need to listen in class. All right. So now they want to find who? T. Is my T the subject already? So T is equal to what is R? R bracket, 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 bracket over bracket, bracket plus bracket, bracket. So S is 4. Let's put it in. R is 6. Put it in. So 6 times 4 is 24 over 10, which is 2.4 en. Or you can write as 2 whole 2 over 5. That's all. So 2 answers are acceptable. It depends on whether which one you put in. 2.4 or 2.2 2 whole 2 over 5. Okay, that's it. Can I clear screen? You're all write down everything, including the one in red. For this technique, you must da. Very last part of the algebra already. And then I officially cleared all algebra. Yes, ratio is set 1. So ratio is set 1 question. Why on earth is it in algebra? because it's a hybrid. Your teacher expects you to learn. Now, some students already learned this in set 1. Okay, but why do I still put here? Because look very carefully. What does this look like?
3 term.
Exactly. So that means that we need to do our 3-term factorization. Let's go. So do your 3-term factorization, then check whether you get the same answer as me. So try not to copy my answer. Try to do it first and see whether you get the same answer as me. I'm done. Are you guys done? If you're done, you can check on the screen. If you have not done, you need help, just ask me. Okay, so I hope that you guys take note of it should be negative, because why? You want a negative 24 at the end of the day. And then can you see negative and negative here give me positive? Because here are just all multiplication. Okay, so at the end of the day, can you see you get this thingy here? Remember I teach you before that to write this means what? Can you see this and this are the same thing? So what do you write as? Square is equal to 0. Right? But another way to do it is because we know that 3x minus 4y is equal to 0 or 3x minus 4y is equal to 0. Correct now? It's the same thing. So y double right. So you can just write as 3x minus 4y is equal to 0 because we learned solving already. Now guys, listen very carefully. Do you all remember just now the technique that I teach you all? What do I say? Can you see a fraction x and then change highlighter color? Y? So x means what? When you see this x on the numerator, must be on the left-hand side. Change pen color. Y on the denominator means right-hand side. Yeah. Okay. So right now, where's your x term? Your x term is here, right? So who belongs on the left-hand side? It must be x, right? So which one, guys? Which term must be on the left-hand side? Yes, 3x. And who is on the right-hand side?
4y.
Why 4y? Because here's a negative. We bring it over, become 4y. Correct now? So now, from here, do you remember just now the technique that I teach you? Take a highlighter, highlight out the constant. Constant. And who must we put? Remember fraction equal to a fraction? Do you remember that? So who do I write here, guys, on the numerator? X. And who do I write at the denominator? Y. So remember just now I teach you all the technique, the cross one? Cross, cross, right now. So always let's do this bottoms up first, this cross. So this cross means it must give you ultimately 3x. So what do we put here, guys? 3. Now change pen color. Can you see ultimately we want a, how much? A 4y, right? So what do we put here? 4. So now they ask you, hey, what is the value of the ratio? So you can just say that therefore, the value of ratio, guys, listen carefully. Can you see this keyword called ratio? If your answer is like that, look here, 4/3, bye-bye. All your effort all gone. Because what they want? Ratio. Is your answer 4/3 a ratio? No, it's actually a fraction. So I must put 4:3. Not 4/3. So can you see how tricky it is? And that's how students lose 1 mark here, 1 mark there, 1 mark here, 1 mark there. Then they say, Miss Lee, I cannot get my A, you're not good. No, it's you need to be very careful to get your A. I can only get you up to a B. How to get an A is you must be very careful already. Okay? Because being careful is something I cannot help you. You must help yourself. Okay, now, last part. By the way, have I taught you all hemisphere and cylinder already?
Only cylinder.
Hemisphere not yet, is it? Okay, so this one I will skip first until the later part when we learn hemisphere and cylinder. Then we'll come back to this particular question. Got it, guys? And that's all for algebra. I've completed everything already.